Good evening, folks. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I apologize about the delay. I don't know, my computer's been acting crazy. And I don't know if I'm just paranoid, but I'm like, are they doing something to my computer? You know, I detach it from the internet every night. But anyway, folks, tonight I want to talk about Mike Spano and his incident when he was a 12-year-old boy, when he was kidnapped. Yeah, I just found out about this, and someone had mentioned it to me and eventually sent me the article or the video of when he spoke about it during his time in the assembly. And he mentioned it because he was wanting to get Megan's Law passed. And so he spoke about his own personal experience with child sex crimes or being the victim of a child sex crime and actually kidnapping also. I mean, it was interesting. I was very surprised at it because I had not heard from it from anyone up until recently. And it's just a strange incident, a very strange incident. And then it started to make me wonder, why is it that the mayor then, associates with certain individuals knowing their history as child sex crime predators or offenders, right? And so I want to go into more about that. And I'm actually going to show you some of the, speech or the, that he made up in the state assembly, and then we'll go over it. And I want you to tell me what you really think. And I'll post the entire speech. It's about almost 10 minutes long and on the page, so you can watch the entire thing. I won't play it all, but I want you to tell me what you think about it. It's interesting. It's very interesting. And actually, I just found out that he actually spoke about it or mentioned it again, and it was in the LoHud newspaper. Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano is sharing his personal story of the sexual abuse he suffered as a child. Maria Trusa, founder of the nonprofit Yo Digo Nos Más, I Say No More in Spanish, interviewed Spano about his experience for her talk show. The episode will air on YouTube on Wednesday, and I guess it already aired. This is an important conversation. Absolutely, Spano said in a statement. The more people who hear these survival stories, the more it will help break the stigma associated with sexual assault and abuse. Trusa did not want to share details of Spano's story, saying they will come out in the interview. He was very vulnerable, as she said, of Spano. She said he opened up about how his family would talk about it after it happened. So let's go over it. I want to show you a little bit of the video here of him talking about it during his time at the assembly. And listen closely. I mean, I don't know. I just found it to be a strange story. And listen, you tell me.
Publicly, I am a victim of a child molester. And this, something that happened back in 1977 when I was 12 to 13 years old. It was something that has profoundly changed my life. I think it's very important that the legislators here and the people of this state see and feel through the eyes of a 12-year-old the pain and the suffering that went through. I'm a lucky person. I didn't go through it for long. It was just a few hours. Afterwards, I had to go through the pains of trying to convince my 15 brothers and sisters that please don't tell anybody. Let's keep this a secret. Years later, even while I was dating young ladies, I would be totally petrified that maybe she might find that out and somehow maybe my life or that relationship would be in jeopardy. But let me tell you a little bit about it, because I think it's important that we all know about it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we choose to hide this thing, it's not going to go away. This is something that is real. It's something that happens every day. And it may have even happened to members here who may choose not to bring it out. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I was walking to pick up milk. Probably.
So he said he was 12 years old, 12 to 13 years old, and he was walking to pick up milk. And then he was, approached by a guy who asked him for a cigarette. The man asked if he had a cigarette, to which he said no. And then he kept walking. And I'm going to play some more of the video here.
Only changed my life. I think it's very important that the legislators here and the people of this state see and feel through the eyes of a 12-year-old the pain and the suffering that went through. I'm a lucky person. I didn't go through it for long. It was just a few hours. Afterwards, I had to go through the pains of trying to convince my 15 brothers and sisters that please don't tell anybody. Let's keep this a secret. Years later, even while I was dating young ladies, I would be totally petrified that maybe she might find that the members here who may choose. I was walking to pick up milk. And on my way home by a wooded area called Leslie Sutherland Park, down in Yonkers, only a block away from my home, an individual walked by me and said,
do you have a cigarette? To which he replied, no. He went to get milk, and I don't have the rest of it, but I will play the entire thing. He went to go get milk at 12 or 13 years old. I guess he was the only one available to go get this milk. And a man approached him and asked him if he had a cigarette. He said no. He was near a wooded area, as he mentioned there. And the man grabbed him and pulled him into the woods. He held him there for 3 hours. And from the story, because if you watch the entire thing, you still won't get much details. He basically says that he spoke with the man through that entire 3 hours, convincing him or trying to convince him to let him go. He said, I knew that I, may have to describe this guy to the police, so I memorized what he was wearing. And then I told him, I said, look, let me go. If you let me go, I'll come back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Right. And then we could, I don't know what he didn't say what, he said, I'll come back. And the guy, he says, molested him. That's what he says. That's the most that he says about, any sexual contact or anything. He just said that the molester molested him. Right. But he didn't describe for, what he did, for exactly how long the molestation took place. But he did say that he was there for about 3 hours. Then he was able to convince the kidnapper and molester to let him go because he believed that he would come back to him at 1 o'clock. So when he got home, he didn't want to tell his parents, right? He didn't want to tell his mom, but the cops came to the house and he told them what happened. However, they didn't believe that the guy would come back at 1 o'clock, he says. So they went and staked out the park that night. No one was there. No one showed up. The next day, his brothers, big brother Nick, the oldest, and Lenny Spano, decided to check out the park or the wooded area at 1 o'clock to see if the guy would show up. Sure enough, he was there at 1 o'clock. And according to Mike Spano, he was wearing the exact same outfit he had the day before. And so he said that they called the cops, and the cops said, how do you know it's him? And they told him where he's wearing the same exact outfit. And so Nick and Lenny grabbed him up. I don't know if he didn't say that they did anything to him. They just held him until the police came. However, unfortunately, the police did not arrest the guy or charge him with anything. They said that they didn't have enough evidence or, any proof to him doing anything to the mayor. And then that was that. He said he was embarrassed. He didn't want his brothers, and sisters to tell anybody. And, he had some issues, as you mentioned there, dating, and he was concerned that, the people who found out, would be, make fun of him, or he would be embarrassed, or he may lose his relationships with whoever he was dating. And so the reason why he's there talking about it is because he's wanting to get Megan's Law passed, and it passed. And I didn't hear nothing else about it. I don't know if anyone else heard anything else about it. No more details, exactly what happened to him, who was the person, right? Did this person ever get charged with something later on? Did he do it again? It was very weird, the story. Strange. It just really was. And the guy didn't get charged or arrested, not even for kidnapping. I mean, where was he for 3 hours? His parents, I'm sure, were concerned. And this guy was the one who had him in the woods. Isn't that enough to charge him for kidnapping, at least? Nothing sexual. They didn't take him to the hospital to do any tests or anything like that. Just they came to the house. They didn't have enough, so they didn't charge him, and that was that. Okay, well, let's say, listen, hey, fine. But why, Mayor, then, is it that you still, to this day, if it was such a traumatic experience, as you say, right, although you were one of the lucky ones, it was only a few hours, why do you continue to engage with child sex predators, people who have been convicted of a child sex crime, people who have had child pornography in their computer? Mayor, you sit next to them, you speak with them, and you invite them into the schools where there are more kids so they can film you and promote you, as well as other elected officials. You, of all people, should know what it's like to be a victim and should not want this individual nowhere near you or children. He should get no benefits or no business from the city as long as you're mayor, but he still does. I don't understand it. And there are other individuals here in the city of Yonkers, registered sex offenders, and people that are connected to or were investigated for at one point deaths of young boys. I don't understand it. I want to talk about, I want to tell you what Megan's Law is, actually. There goes the mayor and his wife there, Mary Calvi. And one of his accomplishments. What are some of Mike Spano's accomplishments? Mike Spano was elected in 1992 as the youngest member of the state assembly. He began serving as mayor of Yonkers since 2008. I think it's 2012, 2018 said, but it's 2012. Since his early days of being involved in government, Mayor Spano has led the task force on sex crimes against children and women, fought for the passage of Megan's Law, and secured legislation to protect children across the state. But he invites Ruros of the Yonkers Voice into our Yonkers public schools, making my wife feel uncomfortable because this was just after he was attacking us and texting me disgusting things and made a disgusting comment of about my wife and I. Here's Megan's Law. Dear New Yorkers, children in New York State are safer today from sexual predators than ever before, thanks to Megan's Law. Simply put, Megan's Law gives parents the upper hand to protect their children from sexual predators. We urge you to use the Megan's Law hotline to seek specific information about a registered sex offender living in your area. Be advised, however, that you will be asked to provide the name, address, or other forms of identifying information about the individual when you call. Forewarned is forearmed, and we believe that Megan's Law gives the residents of New York the information they need to keep their children from the grasp of sexual predators. There are more than 14,000 convicted sex offenders registered in New York State under the Sex Offender Registration Act, better known as Megan's Law. Under Megan's Law, sex offenders are required to register with the state after conviction or if they serve time in prison upon their release and notify the registry when they relocate. Sex offenders who move to New York from another state must also register. Megan's Law creates 3 levels of sex offenders: level 1, low risk; level 2, moderate risk; and level 3, high risk. Local law enforcement decides whether to notify the public about level 2 and 3. No information may be given out about level 1. And level 1 is where we find our homeboy. Who's our homeboy? Now, my homeboy. Karate coach is charged with abuse. The New York Times. July 20th, 1994. I don't care if it was 90, I'm saying 34, 24. Still happened. Mr. Benrose was charged with first-degree sexual abuse and endangering the welfare of a child. Second meeting, the student, blah, 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 and I'll go into the owner of a karate school in Yonkers was indicted today on charges that he sexually assaulted a 16-year-old female student in May, the Westchester District Attorney's Office said. It is the third case brought in roughly a year that has involved accusations of sexual misconduct against an athletic coach or instructor in Westchester County. We can't even trust these people. The incident has stirred deep concerns in many suburban communities where parents often send their children several times a week to instructors and coaches for lessons in gymnastics, dance, swimming, and karate. The suspect in the Yonkers case, Rui Benrose, 35, is accused of fondling the student on May 13th during her first lesson at the Shukukai Karate School at 116 Lake Avenue. Mr. Benrose was charged with first-degree sexual abuse and endangering the welfare of a child. Second meeting, the student, who was not identified, left the school uninjured immediately after the attack. She told her mother about the incident and both reported it to the police in Yonkers the same day, authorities said. Ruros touched him? No, he didn't touch the mayor. I don't know who that guy was, Danny. Milk? Sure. He was going to get a choco taco, and he knows it. If that really happened to him, it's terrible. It sure is. Absolutely. If the mayor was kidnapped and molested, as he says, it's horrible. But the way he speaks it and recounts the story has no emotion. And listen, I've never been the victim of a sex crime, so I can't say how someone would recount their story. I just never seen it that way. And then no one was arrested, not even for kidnapping. He was gone for 3 hours. But fine, forget that theory, Fred. Let's just talk about the fact that he was, and he still engages with individuals like this dude, right? Sex abusers should be put in jail and the key thrown out. I agree with you 1,000%. What about CPS and family courts protecting child and women abusers? Absolutely. They protect them. And I've seen many cases of that, Jose. And yet they attack innocent families. Innocent families with no evidence, no proof of a simple anonymous call. They don't care. That's why he's invited to all the events in City Hall and the schools. That's what it seems like. Parents out there, our elected officials have no problem putting our kids in danger. So as long as they can utilize that person's platform because he can reach everyone in Yonkers and they just want to get elected. They don't care. I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about another man who had the same attitude about child molesters and pedophiles. That man very recently was involved in districting or redistricting Yonkers. The lone consultant that was chosen, Andrew Beveridge. We'll get into him in a second, right? I watched both the videos and cannot, of course, know what happened. I do know that if this happened to me, I would know my exact age. Thank you. You're about the second person or third person that said the same thing. He didn't know his age. That day and time it happened and the year it happened, permanently etched in my mind forever. Absolutely. Also, I did not hear anything in these videos about flyers or bulletins placed in the areas advising families of this potential danger. Exactly. Like it was like nothing, right? It just like, okay, this is what happened. And then that was that. Okay, no big deal. It's like he just got into a fight with somebody or something at the schoolyard and went home, right? That's what it seems like. 100% agree with your assessment. Thank you. And then he's stuttering. He kind of changes it up. Were you molested? But he makes sure to say that he was not sodomized. If you watch the entire video, he goes, "Oh, I wasn't sodomized," right? It's like he tries to minimize it, minimize what actually happened. because he doesn't want to look like, oh, I was, raped as a child, or I was fondled and touched. And then how can you be around a man like Ruros if that truly happened to you? It's not like he doesn't know. All right. Brian Hara spread this guy's, information out about him being a pedo way before I even knew who the both of them were. So it's not like he didn't know. And Yonkers seems to have a history with pedophilia and kidnapping. Right? It's crazy. DNA test points to suspect in 3 unsolved killings. This is an article from 2000 in the New York Times. In life, they do not know each other and had little in common. But in death, they shared an awful distinction as victims in 3 of the oldest unsolved killings in Westchester County. In 1987, Michelle Walker, 14, was sexually assaulted and apparently asphyxiated on a summer afternoon in Yonkers while going home with a pizza and a carton of milk. Well, I'll be sure to never send my kids out for milk. In 1988, the partly nude body of Patricia England, 19, also of Yonkers, was found frozen and decomposed in a wooded area in Greenburgh. And in 1990, Lisa Gibbons, 25, was sexually assaulted and shot once in the head in Tuckahoe while walking to the train station in the morning. Investigators have been stumped by these slayings, finding no witnesses and making no arrests. Although DNA did eventually find the individual, and they, believed him to be a serial killer. I don't want to go into too much of the story because he's connected to a person that recently passed away, and out of respect for her and the family, had nothing to do with her. But I just want to talk about it. Father who sexually and psychologically manipulated victims from his daughter's Sarah Lawrence College dorm room, sentenced to 60 years in prison. This was happened 2 days ago. The father who sexually and psychologically manipulated a group of college students for years after moving into his daughter's college dorm room. He moved into his college, in New York, was sentenced to 60 years. Lawrence Ray, his name is Lawrence, Sarah Lawrence, 63, was convicted in April on racketeering, conspiracy, violent crime in aid of racketeering, extortion, sex trafficking, forced labor, tax evasion, and money laundering offenses. Authorities said that as early as 2010, Ray subjected college students and other victims to sexual and psychological manipulation and physical abuse using tactics including sleep deprivation, psychological and sexual humiliation, verbal abuse, threats of physical violence, threats of criminal legal action, alienating the victims from their family, and exploiting the victims' mental health vulnerabilities. Something, folks, that happens here by our elected officials. I don't want to, embarrass anybody, anyone that's innocent, but they exploit individuals with mental health vulnerabilities here in the city of Yonkers. Ruros is doing that right now. I'm going to show you guys a video, but I'm waiting to show this video of Ruros with, his tail wagging behind him. And this guy wants to be the mayor. And I know you were one of the ones texting me anonymously, dude. You know who you are. And they really do exploit these people to do a lot of things for them. But this is crazy, right? The Sarah Lawrence stuff. It's unbelievable. Mother searches for answers after daughter's remains found in Queens 9 years later. A mother from Yonkers is searching for answers in the case of her missing teenage daughter, whose remains were found years later at a Queens construction site. She was an amazing person, and no one should have taken her from us. Vivian Jones said. Vivian Bates Jones. Bates Jones had been trying to find her missing daughter, Stevie Bates, ever since April 2012. Surveillance video from inside the Port Authority bus showed the 19-year-old arriving home in New York after a cross-country trip. She then told her mom her next stop was meeting her boyfriend at the property he'd been squatting at next to this cemetery that is now under construction. Wow. I don't know why she would allow that. I said, no way, honey. No, not that guy. No. And I'm sorry. And I pray for these individuals. I love my kids very much. And I can't even imagine, right, having to deal with that as a parent. Agreed. I felt like the narration had many variations. And you're referring to the Mike Spano, sex crime, sex victim thing, recanting his story. And I find it hard to believe that his attacker would have walked scot-free when his father was already a county elected official. Oh, good point. Good point. and was in the oil delivery business. Way too many red flags, in my opinion. That's a good point. If he was an elected official, that would have been big time thing, right? A big deal. If Mayor Spano was molested, that is horrible. It's horrible of anybody. Who? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Almost 100% of the time when a child says they were sexually abused, police, CPS, and family court don't believe the child. Yeah. You know, it just depends. Our system here, you know, and who runs our system, who's in charge of our system. It's crazy. When Nick and Lenny found the guy, he pulled out a fat wad of cash. They took it softly, suddenly couldn't remember why they were looking for him and walked away with him. What? I don't know if that's actually true or not. Anyway, well, again, karate coach is charged with abuse, the New York Times. And I read that New York Times article. So yeah, folks, that guy pled guilty, right? He pled guilty, although he doesn't want anyone to know. So I want to show you, okay? He had the record sealed, Mr. Ruros. He had it sealed. So that was part of the plea. But it doesn't mean he didn't do it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. You see here, I got this from the county clerk. Order of protection. So part of the plea deal, he had an order of protection. It was a sentence and the commitment. You know, he had to pay some fines. Order and conditions of probation. He had to get probation. He had the order of protection, right? So he had to stay away from this girl. And it happened. I know people that know the girl's family. It still bothers them to this day. So he can say, oh, it happened 30 years ago, as if we're supposed to be, oh, okay, no problem. It was 30 years ago. Okay, no big deal if you're fondling little kids. I have a daughter. And if you have a daughter, if you're just a human being with a heart, right, it should bother you. And it should bother you that our elected officials will utilize this guy and pay him and everything just so they can benefit. They don't care. They don't care. They only care about themselves and what they can gain. They put our city in danger many ways. This is just another one. Protecting children in Yonkers, New York. This is Brian Harrod, the guy that's now attacking me with this guy because they pieced it up. The both of them have no morals. Just like our elected officials, many of them do, have no morals. And so they will work together regardless of what crimes they commit, especially against children, crimes against children. They don't care. But before Brian and Ruros were best buddies, they were going at each other, just like they're going at me. And they were doing the same thing to each other that they're doing to me. This is nothing new. These idiots, this is what they do. But they picked the wrong guy this time. They picked the wrong guy this time. And I'm going to go all out. Let's see how you're going to do in the end. Tasha Diaz, giving him a proclamation. Well, how dare you? Tasha Diaz, what do you got to say to the family of the victims, Tasha? Take that silly mask off. Nader Sayage, what about you? What do you have to say to the victims, family, as you sit there with this guy? But not only did he plead guilty to fondling a little girl at his karate school, and no, he was just not teaching her a new move. He knew what he was doing. He had child pornography in his computer. Assigned officer responded to the above location on report of the caller receiving child pornography via a Facebook message. Upon arrival, assigned officer met with Rui Benrose, who related the following. On the above date and time, Benrose received a message via Facebook, which included a link to a video. Benrose clicked the link to the video, which showed a young female child giving oral sex to an adult male. Benrose related he does not personally know the person who sent him the message, but that she follows him on Facebook and her screen name is LLE Espinoza. Benrose related he asked Espinoza who sent the video to her, and she related Gigi Mena Madrigal, I don't know, via Facebook. Detective Renzi interviewed Benrose, and that's it. Well,
How do we know that that's true? How do we know that he just didn't call the cops because he said, you know what? I can't have this like this. They can trace it. Let me get ahead of it. Where did it come from? Who was the little girl in the video? And this disgusting guy had the, nerve to tell me about it the last time I saw him. And he told me that the guy was a black guy. Right? Oh, you meet the black guy? I don't care. And I didn't want to know. But did they ever investigate this? They still have to figure out, where did it come from? Where did it originate from? Who's the little girl? Because she's a victim. Was she kidnapped? Has she been, trafficked around the country? Are their parents looking for her? Nothing. That's it. This was it. End of story. They don't care. And so they've been using this guy because they have him compromised. Now they have his son compromised. And that is how our mayor and some of our elected officials, or most of our elected officials, operate in here in the city of Yonkers. It's disgusting. Disgusting. And I just was confused by the mayor. You were a victim. You should not be tolerating anything like this. And so when you engage this guy and you put him up on a pedestal and you give him credibility and validation to the city of Yonkers, you're basically saying this guy is okay. He's a good guy. You could trust him. I don't trust him. And he's done a lot of things that show exactly who he is. And he's said things to me. And he's done things. He's no stranger to the law. 1987, Rui Ben Rose. Again, 5 years probation he got for this crime. 45 days WCP, I don't know what that means. Comply with probation department regarding drug program. Certificate of relief from disabilities granted. Failed, full tail. Right? This is this guy right here, criminal. The criminal. And he's over here accusing me of everything under the sun. And I have no criminal record. He does. He's a criminal. Report to probation officer as directed by the court. Remain within the jurisdiction of the court unless granted permission in writing by the court. Answer all reasonable inquiries by your probation officer. Avoid injurious and vicious habits. Refrain from frequenting unlawful and disreputable places, or consorting with disreputable persons. Work faithfully at a suitable employment, like the Yonkers Voice, or faithfully pursue a course of study like journalism or vocational training that will well equip them. Submit to psychiatric evaluation and participate in psychiatric or narcotic treatments. This guy right here is no bueno. No bueno. And Mayor, how do you hang around with him? How do any of you elected officials hang around with him? And so can we trust these individuals in the judgment that they have, the judgments they make, their credibility and the individuals that they engage with and put in front of us? Look at Brian Harrod, Mount Vernon, what the F? Boycott this fake news terrorist, Brian Harrod, who shakes down businesses. That's exactly what he does. Mount Vernon, Yonkers, Portchester. The man shook down the city of Portchester. In order to get him to stop doing what he is doing online, they gave him a cleaning contract with his janitorial company, which he runs out of one of the apartments over there in Mulford. And then he lives in another one with his little wife. And she goes back and forth from both apartments, committing fraud. And he gets paid by the city. This is the guy that pays somebody $300 to say, I sell heroin. Fat guy with receding hairline. Yeah, that's about right, Brian. He has done this to many black businesses in Greenberg. You hear this? Black residents of Yonkers, When are we going to stick together and start to demand that this comes to an end with these people in this system that has been set up by Spano family and individuals that work for them and do whatever the hell they want them to do in order to keep themselves in their good graces? From judges to elected officials to business people to nobodies like Brian. I've had enough. The more they message me, comment me, and text me, the more I'm going to continue to come at them and expose them even further, because I have not said everything just yet. But Mayor, I would like to know, how is it that you allow these individuals to operate here in the city and you engage with them? This man has been attacking black businesses. He's been attacking governments throughout Westchester County. And now he's here in Yonkers doing the same. He is a terrorist. He has done this to many black businesses in Greenburgh, White Plains, New Rochelle, and Peekskill. With the many complaints to Facebook, they have refused to take down his pages, so it's up to us to get the word out. Everyone is asking for help with this guy. 2017. That's how far back this is going. It goes back even further. Pedo on patrol. Brian Harrod, 2017. Yonkers child molester Rui Ben Rose, a.k.a. Ben, a.k.a. Ruros, leaves his home base on 32 Ashburton Avenue in Yonkers and travels to Shawner Place and Palisade Avenue. Child molester Rui Ben Rose. You see this? This is what they do. This is the filth of our city. And our elected officials engage with them. Those that will want your vote again this year. And enough is enough. The mayor obviously does not step up and lead this city and clean this city of this garbage and this filth. So I will. And I don't care if they come back with messages or other CPS reports. Continue to do it. It's fine. I'm documenting it all. Eventually, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Every one of you. Every one of you. This is Brian Harrod again. And Vinny Spano tried to act like he doesn't know who he is, never met him, wouldn't know what he looks like if he was standing next to him. That's what he told me. You're a fucking liar, Vinny. More sexual predators here in the city of Yonkers that our government engages in. Here are two of them right now. In your face, right here. Jane Sertivo, registered sex offender. Anthony, what's his name? Magani, I forgot it. I'll show it to you. Jane Sertivo, let's start with him. Risk level 2. So we're supposed to know about this guy. So when he came into the city council chambers that night, when you guys were voting on whether or not you were going to pass the term extension legislation that our lovely city council president introduced, did you not warn everybody that was in there that there's a registered sex offender in the room? We're supposed to know about it. He's a level 2. And I doubt he lives on Spruce. I doubt he lives at 84 Spruce. So where does he actually live? What about the people in that area? They don't know this guy's actually there because he's lying about his address. This guy met a 14-year-old on AOL chat rooms, then invited him out, met him in person, and sodomized him. And he's got this smile on his face. Look at that. Yonkers official admits he abused boy he met online. Again, individuals that the mayor and other officials associate with to this day. A Yonkers official pleaded guilty today to sodomizing a 15-year-old boy, a Westchester County boy whom he met through the internet, and to charges of possession of pornographic images of children. The official, James Sertivo, who was the director of the Yonkers Waterfront Development Corporation, entered the guilty plea 2 days after a pretrial hearing began in his sodomy case. Although the sodomy count alone carried a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison, Judge Kenneth H. Lang of Westchester County Court said he intended to sentence Mr. Sertivo to 5 years probation with special conditions for sex offenders. He did not explain how he arrived at that sentence, probably because he's a corrupt judge. Like I've been telling you folks, we cannot continue to allow Mike Spano and Zahi Juris and Nick Spano to appoint judges. They've appointed Elena, they've appointed Ada, they're going to appoint Alexandra Bessesi. No experience. No reason why they should be appointed. No reason. And what do? Things like this. So when these pedophiles then go up and these criminals go up in front of them, they give them these light sentences. Just like Zahi Juris, the prosecutor recommended he get 12 years. He got 4. Not even 6, at least half. Although she was so disgusted by political corruption, she only gave him 4 years out of the 12-year recommended sentence. These people are corrupt. And if we don't vote these officials out this coming year, this is going to continue. We have to stop it. I've spoken to many of you very recently. You're all tired of it. You're sick of it. People of all colors, black, brown, white, blonde hair, blue-eyed, Republicans, Democrats, young, old, west side, east side, north side, south, everybody. We have to come out. Open your mouth. Speak out. Share your story. Share your story. In a news conference in her office after the hearing, the Westchester District Attorney Janine Pirro denounced the relatively light sentence. Yeah, I'm sure. It was certainly over the DA's objection. She said, he pled guilty to sodomizing a minor. We feel these are kind of crimes that require incarceration. Well, then why didn't you put him in jail? Because you are all protecting each other, you corrupt individuals, you. The mayor is shocked and disappointed at the turn of events, said Phil Lamacone, the deputy mayor. Mr. Sertivo was the most prominent of 9 men who were indicted in last year indicted in the last year's charges of molesting a dozen boys after meeting them in computer chat rooms. The continuing investigation of internet activities by suspected pedophiles began after an investigation into the killing early last year of a 12-year-old Yonkers boy, Orlandito Rosario Maldonado. The boy, whose body was discovered in a shallow grave by the Sawmill River Parkway in Dobbs Ferry, was last seen in the apartment of Robert D. Rosario, who police named as the lead suspect in the killing. After officials found evidence in Mr. D. Rosario's apartment that he had solicited minors over the internet, they interviewed those minors and found additional suspects. Earlier this month, Mr. D. Rosario, who has not been charged in the killing, pleaded guilty to sex attacks on 12 other youths. Mr. Sertivo, a respected economic development official who currently is working for Ginsberg Development as a consultant, is here in Yonkers, and they're going to be in Ludlow, developing that entire area, something that is suspicious for whatever reason, because there are people looking into it, and he's involved in that. He was at City Hall. He was at the chamber, the city council chamber, sitting there as Tasha Diaz let constituents have it. Last week, the district attorney's office charged him in a 54-count indictment with storing on his home computer images of children having sex. Why is this guy anywhere near us? Each of those counts also carries a maximum prison sentence of up to 4 years, and he only got probation. Come on. They don't care about our kids. The authorities said that they had found 10,000 pornographic photographs stored in his computer, and that of 6,000 analyzed to date, 27 images clearly depicted children under 16. Most of all, friends say Sertovo wanted to avoid going to jail, and by pleading guilty to all counts, he effectively removed the district attorney's office from the sentencing negotiation. But Ms. Piero expressed pride in her office's success. Yeah, really? Her husband also was a criminal. This case continues the 100% conviction rate of our office. That's all she cared about. The 100% conviction rate of their office. So they said, hey, listen, plead guilty. You only get probation. I get my 100% success rate. You don't have to do any jail time, you pedophile. And you get to live and enjoy your life while these kids go on being scarred forever, committing suicide, abusing drugs, never having full, successful lives. Not all of them, but many of them. Not all of them can go on to become the mayor like Mike Spano and marry Calvi, become multi-millionaires. Not everyone is as lucky as Mike Spano. He's right. He is lucky. It was only a few hours and he wasn't sodomized. As part of the probation, Mr. Sertovo must adhere to special conditions for sex offenders that are enforced by the county's probation department, which includes supervision, treatment, and limits on his activities. But he can be involved in developments. Be careful he doesn't put little cameras in all these apartments going up in the bathrooms. Got to watch out, folks. Unbelievable. The deal maker, politician, James Sertovo, convicted felon. Now, what I want to read in this article is about a man named Andrew Beveridge. Andrew Beveridge recently was hired by the city of Yonkers to do the redistricting maps, which came out recently, and I posted it on my page. For whatever reason, the longtime Democratic operative who was a district leader, very well connected to the Democrats or individuals within the Democratic Party. I don't know if they're really Democrats, but definitely goes back to the 80s, right? He was the lone consultant because everyone else, for whatever reason, the other two couldn't do it anymore. Yeah, right. They chose him because he will listen to the people who run the show here in Yonkers, and he will do exactly what they say. That's why they chose him. He is a compromised individual as well, right? Through it all, he has barely, and he's talking about James Sertovo, missed the check. You see, this guy, James Sertovo, abuses kids and still continues to make money and be successful. He retains the support of friends and has suffered little of the finger pointing that people convicted of sex crimes often report. So he was good. That speaks to the survival skills of Mr. Sertovo, a Yonkers native who has quietly shaped city politics from behind the scenes for a dozen years. Do we want this guy shaping politics here? He has successfully skated between candidates and political party, either as a media consultant to campaigns or as an on-staff advisor. At the end of this is a quote, "At the end of the day, Jim knows a tremendous amount of stuff," said Andrew Beveridge, a longtime Democratic district leader in Yonkers who has known Mr. Sertovo since 1985. He is a political operative and a political consultant, and he knows Yonkers better than anybody. He understands the state. He understands how to get you federal money. He understands everything about government and people like him, Andrew says. Mr. Sertovo, whose grandparents settled in Yonkers nearly a century ago, had dropped out of college and was working as advertising in Manhattan, and then he began campaigning for city council and ultimately Nicholas Wasisco, youngest mayor ever to serve here in the city of Yonkers, right? And so Mr. Beveridge goes on to say, and this is what I want people to hear, because I thought this was very sick to me. He was victim shaming the kid, right? Victim shaming him because and taking Mr. Sertivo's side. After sentencing and hearing the judge's reaction, I realized it's a no-win situation. Mr. Sertivo said, "I'm not going to explain myself anymore. I obviously hope that people are not going to judge me for this one thing. This man sodomized, this is the only time he got caught, and had thousands and thousands of pictures of little kids having sex and video. What? It's crazy. It's one thing. Unbelievable." Still, when he talked about the case, Mr. Sertivo seemed uneasy. He set his hands as if he was weighing both sides of an argument, as if he were wondering if he should just tell the story the way he sees it, right? That he had one encounter with a sexually active and willing gay teenager who sought out older men online, or tell the apologetic version that he has come to realize is more expedient. In the end, Mr. Sertivo chose to discuss his circumstances as if they were a political argument, right? So it's no big deal to these people. No big deal. The scarlet letter of the internet age is to be painted with that brush and labeled a pedophile, Mr. Sertivo said. "I'm not a pedophile. What happened was wrong and it was a felony, but this is an age of consent case. I don't mean to minimize it, but I was immediately stereotyped as the guy in the raincoat who hangs around playgrounds, and that's not me. No, you hang around the internet and chat rooms. That's you." Right? Mr. Sertivo's crime was revealed almost by accident. So if he would have never got caught, right, he's not sorry. He would have been doing it even more. Who's to say he didn't? But check out how he got caught. In January 1999, the body of 12-year-old Orlandito Maldonado was found buried next to an abandoned ice cream stand along the Sawmill. The boy had disappeared months earlier from his Yonkers neighborhood, and the police believed that 38-year-old carpenter Robert D. Rosario might know something about it. Neighborhood boys had told investigators that Mr. Rosario, who lived a few blocks from Orlandito, had offered to pay young boys for sex, and that they last saw him in the lobby with Mr. D. Rosario's building. The day Orlandito's body was identified, the police seized Mr. D. Rosario's computer, and an investigation took an unexpected turn. The computer's hard drive revealed that Mr. D. Rosario was a frequent visitor to an American online chat room for gay men in Westchester. Interviewing the boys Mr. D. Rosario chatted with online led police to other men who used the chat room to arrange meetings with underage boys. That started a crackdown of the of internet pedophilia that cast Westchester into a sinister light. Arrests were announced almost weekly. It's the talk of from Scarsdale to Somers. Scarsdale is a freaking, well-to-do, uppity, affluent area. Big time money there. And that's where that happens a lot. Over the course of a year, 9 men were arrested and charged with having sex with boys they met through AOL chat rooms. All have pleaded guilty or were convicted. A few of the men faced charges involving more than one boy, but most of them, including Mr. Sertivo, faced sodomy charges involving only one boy. That boy, who started meeting men online when he was 14 and continued until his parents discovered his activities and sent him away for treatment, had sex with all 9 men charged in the course of the investigation. Few men received jail time. Nicholas Punner, a former planning board chairman of the town of Newcastle, who admitted to sodomizing 2 boys, was sentenced to 60 days in jail. Patrick Murphy, a former spokesman for PepsiCo, who is HIV positive and pleaded guilty to child endangerment as well as sodomy, was sentenced to 6 months. And Walter Salvatore, the only man charged in the roundup who chose to go to trial, was sentenced to 1 to 3 years in prison. Right? That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Mr. Sertivo had fared surprisingly well for a man who was an admitted felon. He spent the night in jail when he was arrested, but not sentenced to any prison time. Instead, he was given 5 years probation during which he could not drink alcohol, visit stores that sell pornography, be alone with anyone under the age of 18, or keep a computer in his house. He was suspended with pay. Yo, a la neighbor, you hear that? They suspended you without pay, and you didn't molest anybody. But they suspended him with pay from his job as the director of the downtown waterfront redevelopment when he was charged in September of 1999 and fired when he pleaded guilty 7 months later. Even before he was fired, however, he had secure work as a consultant with 3 developers whom he knew from his work in the city. And he said his income is now about the same as his $107,000 city salary he had back in 1999. That was big bucks then. Big bucks. Big bucks. Mr. Sertivo never hid the fact that he was gay, but to realize that his sex life has now been dissected and discussed by coworkers, strangers, and friends has been difficult, he said. My life has changed. Well, that's your fault. That's your fault, right? Your fault. And so I want to go really quick to what this guy, Andrew Beveridge, said, right? I didn't like what this guy had to say at all. Let's look, let's find that really quick, right? So he says here, Americans are funny. This is Dr. Jacobs. Americans are funny, Dr. Jacobs said. They can be very punitive, but often they are forgiven, particularly if there is an illness to blame like alcoholism. That may be behind the forgiveness of James Sertivo, right? I think we are criminalizing something that is a mental problem, Mr. Andrew Beveridge said, the redistricting consultant. On the other hand, the acceptance may stem from something unique to Mr. Sertivo. In discussing his success in garnering $75 million in state and federal money for the waterfront project, Mr. Sertivo said, "What I was best at is selling the concept." In the rehabilitation of his own image, he is selling the concept too, that he was somehow the victim of a wild teenager. So he's really blaming the boy. And so was Andrew Beveridge. Here's what he says. This boy was pretty aggressive, as I understand it, said Mr. Beveridge, who quickly discussed legal strategies, courtroom maneuvers, and the absence of DNA evidence. Another old friend agreed. Have you looked into the number of men that boy was involved with? Asked J. Edward Meyer, who retired in April after 23 years on the New York State Board of Regents. Talking to Jim's lawyer, the young man was the heavy in this situation. Could you believe these people? They're victim shaming and blaming the young boy. Mr. Sertivo, the adult, should have been responsible. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that Andrew Beveridge and other individuals would victim shame him. Andrew Magniglia, that's the other guy that you saw there in the picture, standing with James Sertivo in the city council chambers that day of the meeting. He was recording himself having sex with women without letting them know. They didn't know about it. By the way, this guy, Brian Harrod, also was known for putting cameras in women's bathrooms. He had a janitorial cleaning company. And when he would go into the bathrooms of whatever, business or property he was cleaning, he would put cameras in there. That's a fact. Anthony Magniglia or whatever, this guy right here, he would film himself having sex with women, and they didn't know. And this is James Sertivo. The both of them are consultants to Ginsburg, the developers that are doing all the work over in the Ludlow Park area. So, our city government, our leaders have no problems engaging with individuals who commit sex crimes, especially sex crimes against children. Andrew Magniglia, development consultant at Ginsburg Development. See? No problems. No problems. These people will always find a way to worm out of prison time when their victims are in that 14 to 16-year range. It's deemed less reprehensible when the victim is not a prepubescent child, and it shouldn't be. They should all be thrown behind bars where they'll get the sodomy they want. Absolutely. Who are they kidding? If they were interested in men their own age, they could have easily found them. You go into these chat rooms to specifically look for underage boys, vulnerable kids, many coming from troubled homes. They are predators. Absolutely right. Predators. And they are sociopaths. They lack empathy. The guy's blaming the kid. Andrew Beveridge also blaming the victim. These are sociopaths who lack empathy. And folks, it would not surprise me if they were doing this till this very day. It would not surprise me at all. And this is important for me to tell you folks, because I want you to see who our elected officials are, the type of decisions to make, the integrity that they have or don't have, the lack of morals. They don't care about us. They don't care about the public. They don't care about our safety. They don't care about our well-being. They don't care about our successes. They care about themselves only. And they engage with each other. They're criminals, compromised individuals with some of the most disgusting charges. And this is another article from that 15-year-old boy. Unbelievable that one of them was HIV positive, spreading HIV. So it's important that we know this. It's important that, I show you this. It's very important. So we know how to vote this coming year, because I want to see change. So many of you do too. We need new leaders, leaders that care, leaders that are not compromised. We have to put this to an end, because quite literally lives are at risk. This is a fire hydrant that I found one day in Nodine Hill. It obviously is not working. There was a woman sitting in front of the building there, and as I was taking these pictures, she says to me, "What are you doing?" She said it to me in Spanish. I said, "I'm taking pictures so I can send to people so hopefully it can get fixed." She says, "They're not going to fix it. It's been like that for a week." A week. Those buildings that were right there by that fire hydrant were pretty much together. They were right on top of each other. If they could not get fire fast enough onto one of those buildings on fire, they would spread so quick. And it's happened. If you go up to the top of Maple Hill, you have 3 or 4 buildings that went up in fire, that went up, smoke a year or so ago. And those are, very questionable how they started. But I posted this, and people started to reach out to me, and literally within that same day, it was fixed. And that's what we need. We need someone that's going to get things done. It was fixed. I came back to make sure, and it was fixed. And the reason why I bring this up is because of the fire on Mulberry Street that happened early in the week. I've received information from people who said they witnessed this. The fire hydrant not working properly. They had to go up to another fire hydrant. And immediately after the fire, DPW crews were out there that night fixing the fire hydrant and the pipe. There was a pipe break. These pipes are old, and they're putting more strain on our infrastructure, our water system and sewage system, by bringing in these high-rise developments in here. They're not changing out the pipes. They're not improving the infrastructure, the system at all, but they are putting more of a strain on it. But they don't care about the long run. They don't care about the long-term consequences, because they know they are going to be here for a very short time now. Another 4 years, that's what they want. And then they'll be done. And then the problems that will occur as a result of this, reckless development, this money grab, will be left to the people 15 years from now, 10 years from now to deal with. Many of these luxury developments, all of them, they're not full. They're not to capacity. So why are they building more? The demand is not there, obviously. They're even renting out to individuals who they didn't want in there initially, people with Section 8. But why are they building so many more? It's a money grab, folks. The money's there. It's free. Come and get it while you can. Most of us don't know about that, though. They do. That's me. Freddie Vasquez. Why did I put this picture up? Because I want to show you what Brian Harrod wrote about me once. I am an activist. That's right. And there was a time when Brian Harrod actually liked me, and he wrote the truth about me. And he told everyone about my activism, because this is nothing new to me. Freddie Vasquez, in attending the protest organized by community leaders along with the youth of Yonkers. This is before basement politics. I have had the privilege of meeting and speaking with officers from the Yonkers Police Department. I talked about that. Community activist Freddie Vasquez released the following statements. And that's me talking in front of the crowd. Who's in front of me right here? Your boy Rui. They know who I am. They know what I'm about. I've been doing this before basement politics. I never wanted accolades or credits. I don't care about that. I don't need it. I got what I need in life. No one gives me what I need. I get it for myself. I just want to help others do the same. That's all. And I've been attacked. But I appreciate those that still stop me when they see me and they tell me that what I'm doing is great. They appreciate it. It's wonderful. Thank you for being brave. No, thank you for telling me that because I need to hear it. Freddie Vasquez again. This is Roundup Newswire. This is Brian Harrod. But all of a sudden, I'm a pedophile. I'm a mentally ill individual. I'm this, that, and the third. Why? Because the officials want me to look that way. They're scared of me, folks. People are telling me, Freddie, they're scared of what you're saying. They're scared of what you're going to say. They're scared of you. You represent change. I represent the people. And I need your support. If you truly want change, reach out to me. Politic with Fred. Help me unite. Let's do this together. We can make a change in Yonkers. We desperately need it. Thank you for fixing the fire hydrant, guys, when I let you know about it that day. This is all they care about. This is all they care about. The developers, that's it. We mean nothing to them. We mean absolutely nothing to them. And don't let them fool you going around now, trying to do all these things. And, oh, look what we're doing. Look at this over here, this event. We're giving this. Half of the stuff, I said it. I said they needed to be done, and now they're doing it. They're listening and watching. It's amazing. I'm getting potholes patched up, fire hydrants fixed, people hearings at Macy when they wouldn't give them one. And what are they doing? What is Tasha Diaz doing? What is the city council president doing? Not a damn thing, but they'll tell you what they want to do. City council president says, oh, I would love to do this, but we can't. Oh, I would love to do this, but I can't because of this. You can't do nothing. No housing ordinance, nothing. Nothing. It's time we vote for someone who is strong, passionate, and will get stuff done. This is not about accolades. It's not about money. It's not about that for me. We need to come out, folks, this year, June, primaries, the Democrats have to come out. They're going to endorse Mike Spano, the Democratic Party. There's no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean that's who we have to vote for. Republicans. You don't have to vote for a Republican. They destroyed the Republican Party. Now they're destroying the Democratic Party. So forget party. It's about the person. It's not over yet, folks. I'm sure we'll be hearing more people come out. And I want to show you some of this racism stuff, right? Racism. Does racism still exist here in the city of Yonkers? I stand with Mike Spano, mayor of Yonkers, pertaining to his comment about Jamal Bowman. He said nothing that was wrong. The NAACP and all these other black prefects groups in Westchester are mercenaries for the Democratic Party. Bowman got arrested for protesting against the failures of the voting rights Trojan horse. I agree with Mayor Spano. He wasted his arrest. It should have been for protesting something more substantial and beneficial to his constituents, like the infrastructure bill. Well, we need our infrastructure repaired badly. Mount Vernon is falling apart as well. Absolutely. People need help fixing the infrastructure and stop the feces from literally flooding people's homes. I don't know. Has anybody had that? He calls it the mercenaries, these black prefects groups. They're mercenaries. Mercenaries. Ruros, always needing an attorney. Judgment. And he hired Andrew Sayage. This is back in 1997. He goes far back with these guys, with the political insiders, the social elites. He works for them. Remember that. He works for them. And I just wanted to show you this. I was going through a bunch of stuff. I have folders because I'm sorting out a lot of information that I have. I'm putting it together. I really want to put it out there. I haven't put a lot of stuff out, so I really want to start doing that now. And so I was thinking about, I ran into this, the Charter Revision Committee. I'm thinking about the fourth term. charter revision. They amended the charter. You know, the charter revision committee is appointed by the mayor, and the city council can't say anything about it. So look at this. Name: Tom Meyer, Sima Brandon, Jairus Hatter, Kevin Cacase. I mean, Tom Myers, the chair, Sima, I don't know if that's still this is 2015. That still might be the same. I don't think it's changed. But the mayor appoints the people to the Charter Revision Commission. So he's going to put his people that, you know, would approve something like that, right? Anyway, he has the run of the city council. And here, Hezi, I want to read this because Keith Olsen, we've been talking about him. He made an appearance on the podcast on Friday. This is from the Yonkers Newswire, Brian Harrod. Police union attack. Yonkers Police Department Detective Keith Olsen is attacking Westchester County District Attorney Mimi Roca, who was elected on a premise of police reform. Westchester County District Attorney Mimi Roca's decision to charge a New Rochelle detective, Michael Vicario, for assaulting a Mount Vernon man is in police custody. And then he goes on to whatever. But he's attacking Keith Olsen, right? But what's interesting is that, you know, again, these people are all together. This is why they all attacking me. The Bryans, the Rue Roses, the John Riveras, you know, the Inside Yonkers and all those guys. They're all together. The Yonkers Newswire. I'm going to show you what this guy was saying also, because they're all together, right? This guy, John Rivera, another one that was attacking. They're all together. So this is what our elected officials do. They utilize these individuals. And remember what I was saying, how they exploit people with mental health vulnerabilities? Well, hello, Brian Harrod, hello, and certain other individuals definitely are vulnerable mentally, and they do things, you know, that they don't even know they're doing. 1 minute they hate each other, the next minute they like each other, 1 minute they're cool with you, then they're attacking you. They don't know what they want to do. 1 minute they're the journalist, the next minute they're, I don't know what, right? I don't know what. Omi Medina, the guy I've supposedly has stole his GoFundMe money. Oh yeah, because I needed it. Good luck. But I'm sure we agree that Rue Rose is the GOAT. And Brian Harrod agrees too. I agree that Rue Rose is the GOAT in hyper-local news reporting in the city of Hills. But Omi, Medina, there are always young Turks that are trying to take him down and steal his crown. So Brian Harrod obviously loves Rue Rose now. The guy he once called Pedotube is now his best friend, the GOAT. The GOAT. The good thing is that Mr. Rivera started to do this in 2004, and Facebook only started to allow live since 2007. So this is Rue Rose and John Rivera going at each other at one point. So I want to show you who are the people with the mental issues, right? I want you to be very clear so we can move past this, so we can tell these people to please get the hell out of Yonkers. Stop what you're doing. We don't want to hear you guys anymore at all. We're done. Look at John Rivera. See? When one does it, they all do it. John Rivera, Yonkers Union attack. Yonkers Police Department Detective Keith Olsen is attacking the district attorney. He's sharing it now. That's all what they do. It's all part of the Zahi Jarrett's Vinny Spano media team, the media minion attacking team. And it's very important that we know this. So you know that this information that's coming from them, unless it's been copied and pasted, is probably bullshit. Did Lakeisha win by a landslide victory? Was it a landslide victory? As John Rivera says. Friends, don't forget to vote today for John Rubo. As Janai Wallison, John Rivera. These are the minions. Why wouldn't you vote for, what's his name? I forgot his name. Carlos Burgos, John. And Janai been hounding John Rubo for a job, and he dissed her when he gave Nader Sage's relative a job, or Zahi's relative. Which one was it? One of them two. And she didn't get the job. And she's still out there going up to the podium, brown nosing and kissing ass. And you still ain't getting no job. Landslide victory. Was it a landslide victory, John? Everything's a landslide victory. You see the corruption? Don't believe the hype. Don't believe these people. Omi Medina, I voted Jose Alvarado to get the fuck out of office. Yeah, Omi. Yonkers Police Union, John Rivera, attacking you, Keith. You see that, Keith? You see that? John Rivera, reading is fundamental. You keep posting the same thing and tagging me day after day, blah, 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 blah. These people are a cancer to our city, and it's time we change it. But these people are allowed to do this by our elected officials. They put the batteries in their back. They are the ones creating the fake pages and attacking me and others. The political elites. Political elites like Michael Sabatino, who in 2020 was making $118,000 as the director of constituent services. Why? Because he introduced the term extension legislation in 2018 when it was done for the third term, and that was his reward. Just like Mike Breen will get a job as a reward, but for now he has to run for re-election. It's a little hot. Freddie done made it hot. You guys can't get your jobs right away, so you're gonna have to wait a little longer. That's what's going on, but you will get it. Don't worry. Remember, Mike got his. Mike Sabatino, 118. What does he do? What does he do? And he got that job simply because he was part of extending the terms for the third time for Mike Spano to run again. And that's what it's about, folks. That's what it's about. This is the crew. These are the crew. These are the people, the social political elites, the Tasha Diaz with the blonde hair, and they go around spreading trash about Freddie Vasquez. Ain't that right, Maria George? Telling people that I'm going to get arrested for child pornography? The chief of staff of our lovely city council president, and this was before the black puppet comment, was going around telling people that I was going to get arrested for child pornography. You're telling the mayor of Mount Vernon this? Really? Glad she didn't believe you, because she knows me and my wife. I believe John Rubo's brother was high within months of his 2018 vote to extend term limits. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And that was his reward. And they all get their rewards. This is the crew. This is the letter that they signed for that phony, bogus investigation into Mike Cater when they wanted to get rid of him. Why? Because Mike Cater was putting the kibosh on the Ludlow project. He was exposing them. He was slowing it down. Putting the kibosh on it. Where are the feds now? They're coming. They're coming. They love that Ludlow project. The zoning changes. What's going on there? Interesting. Elena Goldberg became city court judge. She waited in line, although she was a little bit, impatient. But her stepmom, Carmen, told her, you better wait in line. It's Thomas Quinones' time. And then Thomas Quinones did his thing. Then they moved him up to free up that space so they can give it to Elena. Now they're moving her up so they can free up that space and give it to Alexandra Bissessi, the girl from Rockland County who came to Yonkers all of a sudden, got on the planning board. Mayor appointed her there. $1 million home in Yonkers, and you're going to be city court judge making $200,000 a year. Some people just have it too damn good. Too damn good. Ain't that right, Tasha? Your daughter's going to become a cop. You know how many people are getting passed over or have been passed over that have more qualifications, experience, and are overall better than you and your daughter? No disrespect, but it's the fact. And I keep it realer than real deal Holyfield. And all you knows how I feel. Listen, Empire Development Capital Holdings. I found this in my stash of information. Recently, their name came up. They're going to be doing some development of a senior housing. They were there with another development group. I forgot who they were. At a recent meeting, I think it was the very last meeting this past Tuesday. They talked about, they introduced a gentleman, the black guy, the only black guy there, Empire Development. Well, the last time I saw that same guy was with Tasha Diaz when she was introducing this developer. But who is this developer? And why is his address apartment 5A? This guy is really a developer, or is he a front? Donnell Leverett. Do you guys remember him? They introduced him on Tuesday. Is he really the developer, or is he a front for someone else? Don't look so happy, Keith. Lakeisha Collins Bellamy getting endorsed by the police department, the police union, and who posted it? John Rivera. So of course he would have negative things to say about me. Of course Rurals would. Of course Brian would. Of course these individuals would. They're the only ones. Either you're an elected official or you're a minion and you're tied to them. And that's why you have a problem with me. And so you're a bunch of punks who come on anonymously to talk trash. So I say okay as my response because I don't care what you say. It's bogus, nonsense, trash, okay? And anyone that goes on some stranger's page anonymously just to follow their post, constantly saying stupid things, is the person with the mental issue. Never forget that. Never forget that. Lorraine Lopez, oh, I found this. Ex-Yonkers official Lorraine Lopez pocketed $5,600 meant to buy turkey dinners for the poor. That letter will be the end to the council. That's right, because a second one came out and only 5 of them signed it. But they didn't show that letter, right? And John, do you know who were the council members that called Jeffrey Buss to cop a plea and apologize to him and say, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, we didn't mean to throw you under the bus in the Mike Cater thing, but it was political pressure. We want to get him out of there because, our developer clients are putting pressure on us. And, Nick Spano's got to get things done for them. Do you know who were those council members and why that's not being investigated? Because that's bribery, corruption. I mean, they're saying it right there. He says council members called me up to apologize and said they had no choice but to launch this investigation or ask that it be launched because of political pressure. Folks, I mean, what else do you need? Lorraine Lopez, of course, compromised individuals. She works for whoever will pay her. This is a quote. Political mercenary goes and gathers votes and herds people to the polls to vote for a specific candidate that's paying her. No disrespect, but Lorraine, you are fooling my people, and it's time that ends. Latino, no le haga caso a esta mujer, por favor. Necesitamos más. Lorraine Lopez, former aide to Yonkers mayor, charged with grand larceny, tampering with public records. Yet and still, they keep these individuals operating within the city of Yonkers. Why? All the while attacking Freddie Vasquez, a man that has no record of stealing turkeys or anything. And I'm sure they're working now to create some magic because they're threatening me, putting out a video of me and pedophilia. I don't know what, but Lionsgate is here now, so who knows? Movie magic, right? Freaking people are sick and no end. Please advise that I'm responding to you in my capacity as statutory counsel to the Yonkers City Council and its individual members, including Councilman John Rubo. With respect to the allegations that you are raising regarding Councilman Rubo's relationship with his landlord, AMS, please be advised that, 1, on December 2nd, 2020, the councilman submitted correspondence to the Board of Ethics requesting an advisory opinion on whether he can serve as chair of the Real Estate Committee and or vote on matters appearing before the City Council relating to AMS. 2, on January 13, 2021, the councilman appeared before the Board of Education to answer questions concerning the Board of Ethics. Ethics, answering questions concerning inter alia his relationship with AMS. 3, on February 24th, 2021, I issued an advisory opinion to the Board of Ethics concerning the foregoing. And 4, the Board of Ethics, after fully considering and deliberating the matter, including my opinion, subsequently adopted a resolution number 1-2021 approved 5-0, finding that there is no ethical prohibition on Councilman Rubel taking action on behalf of the city, provided that he continues to fully disclose his relationship with AMS to the satisfaction of the Board of Ethics, which actually no longer exists, prior to taking any actions on matters related to AMS. With respect to your remaining allegations concerning inter alia, the councilman's relationship with law firm Harris Beach, please be advised that any campaign, and I don't have the rest there, but I can get it for you. Michael Sabatino, Empire State Purchasing Group, King's Capital. How is that tied? The Michael Sabatino, King's Capital, Michael Casarella. What's up? What they do up in Hawthorne over there? Steaks and Italian food. Ain't that right, guys? Now you're together doing developments right there on the corner of Buena Vista and Prospect. Mike Casarella, the Division Site Development Chief Operating Officer and President of King's Capital Construction. Whatever happened to the steakhouse? There go our high as fuck council members. I'm Freddie Vasquez, and this is Basement Politics. Lay off the coke, you motherfuckers. Look at their eyes. Look at their eyes. I'm out of here.
Freddie wins.
Excuse my language, but I've had it with these cokehead lying cheats. Yeah. Sniffery Johnson over here. Look at his eyes. Look at her eyes. Why do you think she was grinding up on the mayor in that video I shared? That's the cocaine for ya. Sniffity sniff sniff. Yeah? I challenge you all to a drug test tomorrow. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. I've had enough. And I'm coming for change. I said 2023. I'm going on offense.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I need you folks. I need you Yonkers to support me. This is what's really happening. Freddie Vasquez is here to tell you the truth. They want you out. If you're poor, black, and brown, they don't want you around. The working class folks on the east side, they want you gone too. They want your houses.
Freddie wins.
They come in and shake things up over there as well. It's time we understand what's really happening. Focus on basement politics. If you want the truth, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm going to come out harder than ever this year. I'm not stopping, folks. The council's supposed to send complaints and issues to the Board of Ethics. Instead, they bypassed the board and went straight to the IG's office in violation of not only that, but also the fact that the council members were coerced and pressured by the administration and the establishment. Can't wait till they have to testify. Me too. I cannot wait. And I can't wait till some of them go to jail. You know why? I don't want to see people in jail. But these cocky mother suckers, I'm really tired of them. Seriously, I'm really tired of their crap. They are sick individuals, man. Arrogant as ever. You know what I'm saying? Stop playing. The elite, the political and social elite. Nice Rolex. The Ghost Daytona. Beautiful watch there, man. DPW paying good. Damn. I wish I was working for DPW now. Shit. The Spano family tree. Go check that out, folks. I put that up on my page. Zahi Juris returns in the Romano campaign for judge. Folks, to the person that said, hey, that CVS thing you posted up, that was in 2000, whatever. You behind. You want to know what the real reason was that I posted it? Because of Dan Romano's company, Dutchman Realty. Zahi Juris, it's alleged, and I have to say that. I don't really have, it's alleged, whatever. I don't care. Doing building apartment scams. The county clerk's office knows of all the properties in the city of Yonkers that have tax liens or whatever other issue. Who runs the city clerk's office? Vincent Spano. They get the up on the homes, you know, that are in trouble, so they could buy them cheap. They bought this property, 13 Culver Street, when the woman died, no next of kin. So these snakes and predators and vultures jumped on it, got the property for $2,500. Yeah, $2,500, $500,000. Then they sold it to Dutchman Realty, Dan Romano, his realty company, for $200,000. Cheap. That should have been at least $500,000. But why did he buy it? Why did he want it? Why did they block anyone else who had the money and was interested from buying it? Because he knew that CVS would be coming there. and he bought it for $200,000, blocking anybody else out, knocking the house down, and that CVS is going to be there paying him buku cash on their lease. And he's tied with Zehi Jeris. He's now a judge. He was appointed judge. He won. He campaigned, but Zehi Jeris got him in there. This place is corrupt, folks. This place is beyond corrupt. And unless you're tied to them and willing to do everything and anything they want you to do, you're not going to advance here. That's the bottom line. You're not going to advance here. You have to be compromised and willing to do what they want you to do on their behalf. And I'm not doing it. No, sir. I do things my way. This ain't over. We up out here. Beautiful people, thank you very much. I'm Freddie Vasquez. That's right. Happy Sunday. Have a blessed and beautiful week coming up. Let's be productive. Reach me at politicwithfred@gmail.com. Let me know what's going on. I'm here for the people. I'm here for you. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. Change gotta come. We need change. We need change. Thank you.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me. And I don't vote for the person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some butter chicken. So thank you. I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some butter chicken.
Never
So
forget,
thank you.
Rubo is a Democrat.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me. And I don't vote for the person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
That's right. Don't vote for a person that lies to you. And they have lied many, many times over. Continue to spread the word. This Basement Politics where the truth lives. I'm Freddie Vasquez. It's time for change. Excuse my language. I'm sorry, folks. I don't really want to turn it like that, but sometimes I have to really emphasize it. And enough is enough. If you've seen all these messages and text messages and stuff that I'm getting, these people are disgusting. And sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And I'm ready to flame on.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!
Remember who supported and funded a child sex predator. I've showed you enough. And the victims are out there. So when you support him, you are slapping the victims in the face.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I'm a bad.
No!